Okay, from Glennis Adams in Waco, how will financial departments such as purchasing and accounts payable be handled once we merge?
Everything starts where it is, but not everything will stay that way. I can imagine that functions like accounting, some of the stuff that's really compliance type driven, those will evolve into a centralized system. It doesn't make sense for us to have redundant capacities, particularly in fairly rule-driven processes, redundant across everywhere. Now, we won't do that overnight. It'll take a while, but we'll slowly evolve processes like that. Now, others, though, will remain very decentralized. Some of you may know I was in banking for 20 years before I came to higher ed 15 years ago. And I lived in Texas banking when we went from separate bank branches to branch banking like we have it today. And I saw it done well and I saw it done poorly. Here's one of the lessons I learned. If you do consolidations like the one that we're doing here, make sure you make sure that you have local responsiveness. That the students feel connected to their local entity, that you are responsive to the workforce needs in that region, that the people that run those campuses have the authority to make things happen for their region. We're going to do that. But we're also going to make it so that some of the more backroom functions are consolidated in ways that make it more efficient. So it's a little both and.
What do you see changing in recruiting? That comes from Corey Gropp at Brownwood.
Is Corey Gropp related to Chris Gropp?
He actually is. I happen to know that.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, cool. The first department to merge, like we're going to under single accreditation, was IT, and they did it 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, IT has answered to Rick Herrera now for a long time. 4 years, and they did it 4 years ago. We did that even under the separate accreditations, and we did it because, like colleague, it didn't make sense to have different stuff all over everywhere. And Rick showed how you do this well. You start with what you have, and then you evolve it in the direction that you want to go. That makes it really easy on the employees, which is important to me, because we want to be a great place to work. The next one to go is marketing. What we're going to do is, when we hit the 13th class day and you guys have got your numbers in, then we're going to start consolidating marketing. And marketing in the new integrated marketing effort is going to be recruiting, placement, messaging, media, internal communications, public relations, all of that will all roll up to Jeff Kilgore, who is the Vice Chancellor of Integrated Marketing Development and Institutional Advancement. It's a horrible business card. We'll have to figure out something else to do with it. Let me give you some for instances. TSTC spends $1 million a year on advertising. Did you know that? I will bet you what you are saying is, you've got to be kidding. Where is it? $1 million a year. Well, we think there's smarter ways to do that. For example, if we do our media and statewide buys, you can drive the cost down like 80%. But we don't do that in the old way. We each do our own stuff, and so we want to get media marketing started because their first goal is make September, fall of 15, way better than fall of 14. And if we don't give them the whole year to get it done, then they're toast. Anybody in recruiting knows next year starts as soon as this one hits 13th class day. So marketing will be the first to go. And that literally means that no matter where you sit in the system, if you are, say, media, advertising, recruiter, or whatever, you will now answer to Jeff Kilgore. So they'll go first.
This is from from Robert Capps in Waco. Are department funding levels based on graduates' salaries?
Right now, we don't have a distribution system that is tied to the new funding formula. We don't have that. We have a distribution system that is based on the legacy funding of departments. But over time, we may evolve into a situation where the departments are paid based on the results that they get out with their graduates. Now, we have to be careful there that it's not too hard-coded, and here's why. There are some programs that are just really expensive to deliver, and if you're not careful, what you'll end up doing is cutting off a supply source of talent for Texas because it's slightly less effective or efficient at delivering than others. So we'll have a little of both. There'll be discretion in it, but eventually programs will get what they earn eventually. It'll take us a while to get there. Ultimately, I'd like to also do comp plans for faculty that are tied to that. So if they can find new and innovative ways to get more graduates placed at great paying jobs, it can impact their bonus pool. That's what I'd like to eventually get to. In fact, I see bonus pools like that taking the place of the overload system. And we ought to talk about that. Overload is going to be the same everywhere. There will not be 4 versions of overload. And it'll be tied to the new funding formula, not the activities-based system that it's tied to today. And the reason is, under contact hours, we were paid by those activities, and so faculty pay should appropriately be tied to that. Under the new one, activities have nothing to do except they drive expenses. It's the outcome of your graduates that matter now, and so that's what the faculty pay should be tied to. And eventually I'd like bonuses for everyone in the company that way. Something similar to profit sharing in a corporate world. That would be really cool. That would be a great place to work, is the better the school does, the more people make. Woohoo! So.
Okay, this comes from Christina Hollis in Abilene. How many students does a department have to place to justify that faculty's salary?
Depends on how many faculty you have. I mean, you think about it. Under the contact hour system, here's how it works, is the more sections that are taught by that department, actually, the more contact hours that are generated under the old system by that department, the more revenue we get, right? And the more tuition we get. And generally, the more contact hours you teach, the more expenses we end up paying to realize those revenues. Under the new method, expenses and revenues are disconnected. And here's why. Suppose you offered a 9-hour certificate that resulted in consistently a $40,000 a year job, say Java programming. That $40,000 a year job is going to pay TSTC the same amount of state funding as a $40,000 a year job that was created through an associate degree. Now, a 9-hour Java certificate is going to take next to nothing in expenses, faculty time, so forth, but an associate degree will take 8 times that. So faculty now and departments now have the opportunity to ask themselves, what are some of my high margin opportunities in my particular industrial sector, where I could create some small pathways for lucrative salaries? Because then your expenses will be low, your revenues will be high, and you can afford to have more faculty or fewer students. So there's no one answer. Do you see why? I mean, I can't tell you a number. I hope that's good enough. Who was it in Abilene?
Was Christina Hollis.
Christina, send me an email or call me if you want some more detail.
Okay, Robert from Waco asked, will the new funding formula affect instructor loading in regards to allowing time to develop curriculum, working on equipment, recruiting, etc.? In the past, instructors have had to maintain a minimum teaching load, but with the end goal changing, minimum loads don't seem as important as does spending time to grow programs, develop curriculum, and improve existing equipment, labs, which all take time. Yeah, it's long.
He really did get it. Oh, it's 2 pages.
It's 2
Okay, now we
pages,
got, okay.
yeah, it's 2 pages.
Okay, let's talk. You know, the question is, the way we're doing it right now, it's a little, I'm not sure. I kind of half answered his question already, and that is, if we get into a situation where, and this is the objective I would like to work toward, where situations like John Pedrati's program, if John is in a situation where we can show him the data on what his program earns in both tuition and funding every year, we begin to show him all those data, then what he can do is sit down with his faculty and say, what is it going to take for us as a group to produce the graduates that get there? And so I see those kind of decisions, personally, I see those kind of decisions as a dialogue between administration and programmatic leaders in terms of how is it that faculty will need to have time to do all that stuff. You understand, if we took the time to try to imagine every possible detail of what we're doing here with this merger, we would be 10 years from now still trying to flesh out the plan. So there are some things where we kind of have a rough answer to it, and that is we'll have to look at both revenues and expenses on a programmatic basis. That's about as good as we're going to get right now. But in good faith, we're going to move forward and try to find ways for programs to be able to operate effectively and efficiently. We'll have to invent that together because we don't know yet. We'll figure it out. Bob.
Our program quality still has to lead the way. We still
Absolutely.
have the resources, we have to have the updated equipment, we have to have the manpower,
Absolutely.
we have to have the lab assistants and the room. Our quality still has to be what sells our product.
Let me tell you why that's important, Bob. Couldn't agree more. I have been challenged dozens of times on, oh no, this new funding formula is going to turn you into a degree mill. All you're going to do is just spit graduates out and get them in a job. That won't work. It won't work. And I'll tell you why. The first graduate we place with every company is a gimme. Almost doesn't matter what their quality is. They just need somebody. But I'll tell you what, you give them a bad product and you'll never get the second hire. It'll never happen. In the same way, huh?
It'll cost 5 jobs.
It'll cost 5. You're exactly, Bob. In the same way that if you go to any place to buy a product and you get an inferior product, you are not going back. That will kill TSTC. You might as well lock the doors. So you aren't going to see me pressuring you to reduce quality. Not on my watch. I will say this, though, are you training the right amount of training? And is it the exact thing that the industry asks for? Some programs are probably overtraining. You may not, but I'll bet you there's some that are. And this DWA process and the work that Terry Conroy's been doing and Rob Sanders did in terms of looking at the way our skills, our learning outcomes are done, will help programs make sure they're not baking the product beyond the time it's done. Because all that does is cost you more money. Do you see my point? Does that make sense? It's not my job to decide what is right. It's the employer's job to tell you this is what I need. and then you need to teach to that. And we're going to try to get better and better at making sure you know how to do that. You still have the mic, are you?
Yeah, you know, one of the areas that's always a real concern to me, and I know it's especially true with the other department chairs and all of the faculty is you know, we have instructors retire, we have instructors leave. You know, we're sending these students out and putting them to work for $60,000 a year, and we need to bring instructors in, and we're saying after 5 years these students can be worth $100,000 a year, and then we've got to go out and find talented instructors. We got to be able to get them the pay that is going to bring them to TSTC and bring those talents.
You know, our system is broken that way. It's just flat broken. Here's the situation. For example, I heard the other day, and you may be surprised at this, but I am not deep in the details of operation. That's not my job. My job is mainly policy, big picture. But I heard the other day, we actually capped the enrollment in our welding program at Waco because we don't have enough faculty. Okay, you know why we don't? Because we don't pay them enough. So here's my overall notion about this. Is why don't we get one of these real smart bean counters to sit down with a spreadsheet and tell us, first of all, do a sensitivity analysis. How much would we have to pay to attract more faculty? And then number two, plug that in to this pent-up demand of students that we could put in the lab tomorrow and ask ourselves, doesn't this pencil out that we pay more? And I'll bet you it does. So we have some hard questions to ask ourselves about how are we going to do that. And the questions are not going to be easily answered, and they may not be fast, but I will tell you, I'm going to be asking them. I'm going to be saying, why do I have another associate vice president instead of a welding faculty? Now, I just puckered the rear end of a whole bunch of managers. But I'll tell you what, I haven't seen an associate vice president make me $1 the way a welding faculty can. You're hearing this from the man, Bob. I know the way it needs to be, and we're going to get there. So work with me. I can't fix it overnight. But the start becomes, let's stop wasting a bunch of money on administration, start spending it on our core business, which is teaching students. Good. Work with me, Bob. We'll get there together, okay?
I have a couple of questions online. The first one is addressing the bonus system for support staff. Jen Sanchez from Harlingen asked, how will those bonuses work for people in support positions, not directly tied to graduates in a particular program of study?
I'm going to answer that question. First, let me say, it's like, we have like 5 minutes to go. I will stay here until the last person leaves. If you're online and you want to leave, or you're here in person and you want to leave, you will not hurt my feelings if you get up and leave in the middle of this. But as long as people want to know more, I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to answer your questions, or Elton is, or Rob is, or whatever. I don't want to stand in front of your beer, but it's okay if you stand in front of mine. So, what I talked about was the notion of one day I'd like something like profit sharing kind of thing. I can't give you any more detail than that for staff. What I can say is I've worked under a ton of compensation systems. And what I've found is when you build compensation systems that tie pay to the prosperity of the college, then the employees care as much about how things are operating as the managers do. That's the general spirit of what we'll do. But I will tell you, I won't build that system by myself. I'll build that system by talking to a bunch of people, finding out what is it that they value, you know, how is it that that sort of things will be done. In this new HR that you've heard me talk about, those will be the keepers of those sorts of things, and we're going to get there. It'll take me, it's not going to be months, it'll be years, but we're going to get there because we'll have to grow a little every year. I think I answered it, I think. And that is, I can't tell you specifics now, but I can tell you what my goal is.
Great. Bailey Ashley from Marshall asks, by focusing on quality graduates, we will be able to change our selection process from an open enrollment to something more selective?
Okay.
Question.
I actually talked to the co-board about this. I said, hey, I know that technically you say we're an open enrollment system. Prove it to me. And they said, well, the only way for us to really prove it is to ask the Attorney General for an opinion. Are you sure you want me to do that? And when I thought about it, I thought, no, I really don't. I don't want an opinion on that, because I'll tell you why. We will always be an open enrollment. Anybody who wants to come here and sign up can sign up if they have the minimums, which is a PULSE, a high school transcript or a GED, and the desire to do the work and enough money to pay the tuition or the ability to get grants to help them. So we'll always do that. It could be, though, that eventually we begin to limit either seats or admission into programs. It might be that we do that. And the reason is we may find, and here's why. Under the old contact hour system, the way we decided whether a program should be offered or not is how many students will sign up for it. That's what we ask ourselves. And we didn't, over here, pay a whole lot of attention to, will these students get a job? It was just, will we have a lot of students sign up? I mean, is this a sexy program? And if the answer to that was yes, then, well, by all means, let's field the program. Under the new funding formula, maybe more important than will the students sign up is, will they get jobs at the end? Because that's how we're going to get paid. So we will ask ourselves both those questions. Will students sign up for it? And will we be able to place them in jobs? Well, when we ask that second question, here's what we may find. We can place 40 pilots a year. Well, if that's the case, then we better not be producing 80. And the way that you make sure that you produce the right number is by making programs a certain size. And it might be, and I'm not telling you it's going to be this way for every program, and I'm not telling you tomorrow we're going to phase this in, but we are going to ask our questions like, how big should a program be? And the market absorption of those graduates is a big part of that answer. Do you think that answered that question? Okay.
Have any questions in the audience?
Yes?
So I would like to talk a little bit about the accreditation itself.
Okay.
So, I mean, I work for a different college program under ACICS national accreditation, and I know that SACS is regionally accredited, but earlier you mentioned 4 different accreditation systems. So did we have 4 different accrediting bodies before SACS? I'm a little confused on what you meant by that.
Because we have 4 separate colleges, we have to do the accreditation process with SACS 4 independent and segregated ways, times. For example, and we're different parts in the cycle in each of our colleges. Right now, for example, Harlingen and West Texas have submitted their 5-year or 10-year report. I've lost track which one it is, and they're going to have site visits this fall. The brand new Red Oak location has submitted their initial information for a new site, and they're going to have a site visit this fall. Each one of those is a separate visiting team, and every one of those teams, we have to pay all their expenses. We also have to pay SACS an individual membership fee for all 4 of the colleges. And then we have to have all of the time and effort to keep track of all that stuff independently. For example, right now we have 4 separate faculty databases on the credentials. I mean, that's a horrible waste. Makes no sense. So when I said 4 accreditations, what I meant is SACS is our accreditor, but we have to do it 4 independent times. Now, we also have, though, for many programs, other accrediting bodies. In nursing and allied health, we have a bunch of them. In some of the other programs, we have outside accrediting bodies. And our consolidation will have to take into account that we're going to have to work really closely with accrediting bodies that accredit our separate colleges today as we roll this together, because we cannot harm those accreditations. So we're going to work really hard to make sure that those are maintained. That would be an unintended consequence to have that hurt one of them. You guys may have some, for example. I know that individually the chefs have really outstanding credentials that they can qualify for, and so we want to make sure that whatever you have, or even if you want to get more, we try to help you with that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, because your convention is here in Waco. Yeah, congratulations. I was wondering how it feels to cook for other chefs. Yeah. With 2 exceptions, yeah. Thank you. John?
Okay, we have
You're
Cindy.
extraordinarily quiet, John.
John, do you have one before I go to this? Okay. We have Cindy Mata with Harlingen. Example of a welding instructor. What about those instructors who already make above midpoint? What happens to them as far as salary is concerned?
You know, when we did the comp study, the pay ranges were set based on some averaging across various college constituents. We went out and identified Texas schools that are similar to us, and then we identified some regional schools that were similar to us, and the comps ranges were based on comparisons with them. One of the things they don't do is take into account the market forces of the ebbs and flows of the workplace. Here's a big challenge we're going to have on this faculty thing. Let's suppose that what we did was we created some kind of system that sweetened the pot when the ambient salaries in your particular industrial sector are really strong. Let's suppose we do that. And the reason is to try to continue to be an attractive place to work, even though you could go out to the industry and make much more money. So suppose we get that on there. Here's our challenge is, what happens when your industry sector heads back down again? And all of us see that. How do we handle that part? Because it's not fair that we let it ratchet up, but then not ratchet back down again. You be the boss and decide how that's going to happen. Because it's not, here's why. It's just as unfair to overpay a particular employee as it is to underpay another one. It's just as unfair. And so we've got to figure out, and you know, if any technical school can skin this cat, I'll bet we can. We have got to figure out how to maybe we'll have industrial indicators or some kind of index that like sweetens it or not. Maybe we can develop something like that where we use outside metrics that show us what the salaries in field are doing and how we need to make adjustments there. And so it means that if they cycle down, then they cycle down. It's not us, it's the industry. I don't know, but I'm willing to talk about that and figure out a fair way to get it done. I'm willing.
Okay. We have Richard Kirk at Harlingen. He would like to know, how would a 9-hour minimum in gen ed courses help with the funding formula?
The truth is, I don't think it would. It's hard to imagine how, and you know, that's the nature of gen ed. It's hard to imagine how 9 hours of gen ed are going to make a difference. Now, we'll tell you 9 hours of gen ed will get them counted in the formula, but if it doesn't impact their earnings, It's not that it's unimportant, it's that earnings are what matter. So as soon as I see you and I'll be right there. As soon as they get the 9 hours, then they'll count in terms of the head count as a placement and all of that. But if their earnings are minimum wage, it doesn't matter what your program, whether it's gen ed or technical, if you earn minimum wage, we aren't going to get paid. And so what I'm saying is by the nature of gen ed, it's hard to imagine how 9 hours of gen ed is going to have a really positive impact on someone who leaves here. Now, with that said, I will say this. If that person leaves and transfers to university, they're going to count in the transfer pool. And they could result in the funding formula there. But if all they do is spend a semester, take 9 hours, and then go down to the C store and get a minimum wage job, we get zero for that person. And I'm not being critical, I'm just saying that 9 hours of technical can often get you a bump in pay, but 9 hours in gen ed often won't. It's by the nature of the content and the way employers would treat it. It's not my fault. It is our problem.
With the opening of all the new campuses, how do you expect that to affect the Waco campus?
You know, I think it's possible that Waco may not grow as much as it has in the cycles in the past. But let me offer you this. Do you know that today Waco is roughly the same size it was 20 years ago? And that enrollment has varied a little bit, maybe 1,000 in each direction. Waco is roughly flat for 20 years. What we are hoping is that these other new locations are going to gain students who wouldn't otherwise have come to Waco. But you understand, when we become one college, if a student attends Red Oak instead of Waco, we have not been harmed. We haven't been harmed. Our job is to serve Texas. Our job is not to serve only Waco and only Harlingen and only the legacy campuses. Our job is to serve all of Texas. And by opening carefully and selectively new locations, Dallas, Austin, Houston, and maybe others, then we hope to grow the total enrollment. You don't like that answer.
Sorry, I'm sitting next.
No.
Yeah.
I want to.
Okay, the Waco campus appears to be mainly a hub, especially in our department, where people from Houston, Dallas, the other areas come to get their education and then get sent out. So with campuses opening in those areas, students would no longer need to come to Waco to get this education.
Okay, you're the chancellor. You're the chancellor. Do you really care where the student sits?
I definitely have an interest in it if I work here in Waco.
Yeah, no, you just said if you work in Waco, you have an interest. If you're the chancellor, what you want to do is serve Texas.
Right.
Yeah, and what you're telling me is I don't want to move from Waco.
No. I was just wondering what effect it was going to have on the Waco campus with the opening of the other campuses, seeing how the Waco campus, especially in certain departments, primarily get their students from the other areas.
Okay, let me tell you this. Recently, when I was talking to the BASF guy, he told me that he went over to LIT. Do you know who that is? Lamar Institute of Technology. He went over to LIT and gave him a check for $1 million. And the reason is he wanted an instrumentation program close to his refinery. So if I came in with a check for $1 million, would you guys open an operation down in Fort Bend County?
Well, sure.
Okay. And why would you do it? Because the refineries want students who are from that area who are going to work in that area. Now you guys are superstars. You are the top salary getters in TSTC system. No one is bigger than you in terms of salaries. But I gotta ask, if we were starting with a brand new clean sheet of paper, where would you put instrumentation? Okay. And so my question is, should I protect Waco in such a way that no matter what, they aren't going to shrink and serve fewer Texans with good degrees? Yeah. Well, what I will tell you is we'll be very careful where we deploy our programs. And if we move, we will move slowly. And we'll move in consultation with folks. But I will tell you one thing that I think single accreditation will do is it'll make it better for us in terms of putting programs where they need to be to meet industrial demand. Now, if you don't want to move, if it was, and by the way, that would be something we would sit down with you and talk about, is do you think your program would be bigger if it was down there, or it would be smaller? Or could we have a program in both places? Or should we have one in Harlingen and Fort Bend and Waco and Dallas? We'd sit down and talk about all that, and we'd look at the workforce data, and we'd try to figure out what's best for the student, the industry, and for TSTC. We'd look at all of that. But the answer is, we aren't going to try, for example, and you understand I'm being very transparent and blunt with you here. If we can gain 1,000 students at Fort Bend County, but it cost Waco 1,000 students, but we also then can grow another 1,000 in Fort Bend County, what really matters is the total number, not the per campus number. Yeah. And so that's what we'll be looking at, is the per campus. I don't see, here's one of the things that Waco is going to always have that the others won't. Housing. Well, Harlingen has some housing. Sweetwater has some housing. Marshall has some housing. I don't see us being in a very big hurry to build more, though. Because if you're building locations, you don't need to build housing. You're reaching the students by going to them instead of the other way around. And so I think Waco is going to have a draw for students for many reasons for a long time to come, and that is we have housing, we have unique programs like aviation. I mean, aviation is never leaving Waco. We don't have an airport like we have here. I mean, we own our own airport, $300 million asset. So we're always having aviation here. But one of the things, 20 years from now, I think what will happen is our programs will be dispersed across Texas based on the industrial hiring array, dispersion, and where do the students come from who like to go into those programs. So I think that's what will happen. Yeah. I mean, I sure hope you're not telling me, or you're not asking me to tell you, no matter what, we're never going to change the program, and it's never, okay. That is a really hard one, and because it could impact people if we're reckless and careless with the way we make decisions like that, and I don't want to hurt people. If I can do something that prospers everybody, that's always my first choice.
Okay, Jen Sanchez from Harlingen would like to know, will the current faculty and staff Senate boards still be in place with the new single accreditation? The short answer is yes. We're going to be one college, and I think what it's going to do is it'll have to be location-based because the function of the faculty and staff senates are highly proximal. What they matter is that they can easily talk to each other, they can walk down the hall and all of that. And so I don't see us doing away with the fact that we kind of have reps from all over. That's hard to imagine, but do you have any? Okay.
There will be representatives from each location. It's like I told the groups earlier, we will have no stepchildren in this organization. Everybody will have representation. We just have to determine how to form the group.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. I don't need no
Well, they
Oh,
can
no,
get
you
it
do,
on-
because we're trying to, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I hear a lot about, students' outcomes, being able to find jobs and everything like that. And I got to tell you, from my perspective, I'm a new hire. I haven't caught my third paycheck from the state of Texas yet. I've met a number of people in a number of areas, but I've only met one guy that was in job placement. Are we putting out, you're talking about putting out 40 pilots. Is that because we can only find jobs for 40 pilots? Or is it because there's only 40 jobs available?
That was just a for instance.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know that's, I mean,
But I think what you're asking is,
Right.
am I satisfied with the nature of our placement effort?
yeah,
No.
I mean.
No.
Okay,
Edgar Padilla is a superstar.
yeah.
Let me say that. Edgar Padilla is a superstar. Edgar Padilla is a superstar. I think that man is amazing.
Okay.
But I will, what? Who are you pointing to? Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, forgive me. Yes. But do I think placement could be stronger? Yes. And that's why placement is joining together into the integrated marketing group, is so that there is a critical mass of people who can get these jobs done well. We have room to grow in that area. In fact, I can imagine TSTC going even beyond our notion of conventional placement, that we actually become a lifelong placement firm for our graduates. That once they come to us, when they want to change, they come back to us. And we can brush up their skills, we can make them a bit more modern, and we have relationships with employers that allow us to go place them. Let me give you, for instance, we were looking at Bob's program recently, and here's what we figured, is Bob does a great job of placing his grads because he puts their resumes together in a book, he hands it out to the companies, he does all this stuff. One of the reasons why his salaries are so high is he does such a great job of placement. But that's all on Bob. We need to help with that. We need to build a system that helps him get it done. Number two is, we're giving that away for free. Let me say this. That's bass-ackwards. If I needed a brand new president and I went out to find a placement firm to get me a brand new president, I'm going to pay at least 20% of the first year's salary to get that placement. Our graduates are so rare in many cases, I can't figure out why we aren't making companies pay to get access to them. Because you know what? We can, and they'll pay it. We just haven't learned how to do that yet. But we will. We'll learn how to say, oh, you want access to my grads? Have you joined the ABC Club, where you make a donation to us every year? Oh, well then here's the resume book. Or how about this? They give you a certain amount of money to your program every year, say $25,000. They pay you $25,000 a year, you host a private reception with their HR guy and your graduates. How about that one? But you got to pay 25 grand a year to do it. That's your money. Yeah. So, are we where we need to be? Heck no, but we have a whole lot of room to grow. I can tell by your body language I haven't answered your question. What do you?
Well, it's just, I mean, the way I see it is, I mean, like, I'm new and I haven't seen everything, and I'm trying to be real careful not to step on anything or anybody. But I mean, the only thing I can say is, like, I got two guys that are doing student recruiting, and there's nobody doing student placement. A full-time placement person down there.
What program are you in?
I'm at Hutto, ISE.
Okay. At Hutto ISD?
Yeah,
Industrial systems, right?
right. Industrial system.
ISE, which is in Hutto, you check. He's a
No.
Okay.
I know what he was trying to say.
Do you know this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me answer your question about when you mentioned the 40. I think I know what you're saying there because I used an example early
Yeah, I
on.
was trying to, saying, is that a measure? of the actual job market, or is
See,
that
we-
a measure of
we
our
have-
ability to put
we-
people out there?
We have employees working on pulling data for us every day that shows what the job markets, what are the number of jobs in Texas in related fields. And what the chancellor was trying to say, and I used in an earlier session several years ago, there was a big push to build the aviation maintenance program. This was back 25
Yeah,
years
no,
ago.
those
There-
jobs went overseas.
Well, there were over 400 students in that program, and I was an instructor at the time, and I ran into the dean, and he said, boy, we only have enough jobs for about a third of those folks. That's an injustice to the students and to everybody. But we have people that can pull data, that can project for calendar year 2015, there will be this number of jobs, new jobs in the state of Texas in this particular field. So you can kind of, you have to find that balance.
I think that we just joined a brand new data system, and I think the initials are IMSE. Is that it? Somebody? No? Okay. And this is a data system that consolidates the open positions in all across America. And so we can tap that thing and do all kinds of searching and find out what jobs are available by locale, by zip code, by all kinds of stuff. And so we can be able to tell you guys, this is how many jobs are unfilled in your particular area. And that's a brand new system that we're just bringing online right now, so that faculty have the ability to know how big do they need to be. You know, you're still squirming. Tell me what you need me to tell you.
Well, the thing I'm seeing is this is the same kind of trap that I think traditional four-year colleges fell in, is that they were basing their ability to put people out there on data like this and not getting enough feedback on the real world, what was going on out there. You know.
Have you been through an advisory committee meeting yet?
No.
Okay.
They probably don't even have, do you even have a copy?
Have you made any calls on employers in your region?
Not really.
Okay, well, okay, here's what happened is, Hutto is so new, you haven't developed all the mature processes that are out there that the legacy colleges have done.
Right.
Through the single accreditation, you're gonna get capacities that you didn't even know were there. And you're gonna be on a first name basis with HR people. They're gonna call you and talk to you about new technologies. You're gonna see these two guys right here, right in front of you.
Yeah.
Talk to those two guys about what it means to have a rich and deep relationship with employers, and they'll show you what it is that is down the road for you.
Okay. I mean, I've made some contacts with local employers in the area, and I've gotten 0 responses.
They probably don't know who you are.
Yeah, they have no idea. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm new to the area, new to every, you know, I'm new.
And you don't talk like we do around here. I'm poking fun at you.
I know.
I'm poking fun at you.
You don't get a whole lot of people from Cleveland here?
Yeah, Cleveland is a cool city. I've been there. The Rock Hall was mind-blowing. But anyway, so give it some time. I think you'll find that we're better at it than you think we are. And we just have, another thing too that I have to tell you is, this single accreditation is going to make it way easier for the bigger schools who have a lot of scale, you know, the 2 flagships, Harlingen and Waco, to share their practices that are really good, and even some of their capacity, with the smaller locations who just don't have enough people. And so you haven't seen that happen yet, and I think you will.
Question?
Vanna.
As the campuses merge into one, what will happen to campuses that have the same department in multiple places? Will they become one department, or will they remain multiple computer networking departments, multiple computer science departments?
That is, let me turn my mic on. Sure. When we go to one college, there will be one person selected to be the academic officer, to be in charge of instruction. We will look at finding a way to build those programs to where they are consistent amongst the entire college that we have at all locations. As I mentioned earlier, there may be some areas, Texas is a large state. There may be some areas down like in Harlingen or East Texas or West Texas that we have a curriculum that maybe they have a special needs in one or two areas, so we set up electives. But the core curriculum will be the same for every location across the state of Texas because we are one college. The need for those particular programs, let's say computer networking, it depends, it's based on need. It's based on need and what the demand is, and then we'll have to make those decisions as we move forward. But that's why with single accreditation, we will have one person that will be in charge of instruction. That is a requirement by SACS, and that person will be in charge of helping mold that and looking at the programs and looking for what we need, what we perhaps don't need. Maybe we need to open up that same program over here. Maybe we don't over here. That'll all have to be looked at as we start moving towards single accreditation.
In terms of hierarchy, how would that sit between, say, a program chair, division director? Yeah, in terms of the, all right, I'm a technician, this is all new to me.
Yeah.
As far as hierarchy, how would that positions fit? In other words, you have department chair, division director, where would that position fit?
That position will report to me
To you.
because I will
Okay.
be as vice chancellor with the operations side of it.
Okay.
The student learning position that will be in charge of instruction will report to me. Student development will also report to me.
Okay.
But there we will build consistencies as we move forward.
Okay.
We
Thank you.
have to. As the
Right.
chancellor said, we're doing things, you know, we were in a meeting 2 weeks ago and we started talking about purchasing, and three of the four major locations do purchasing different than everybody else, and it's total insanity. I couldn't believe it when I got home. We just can't afford to do that anymore. It's not good. It's like he said, it's too much bureaucracy and administration. We need more for education.
Yeah, in the teaching and learning student development part, this is really important. If there's any part of the college, that is going to be highly local, it's got to be student development and teaching and learning. And the reason is you got to go to where the students are. I mean, you have to have your delivery systems where they are. So will there be standards and a unified administration? Yes. But you can't teach from a central location.
That's
you can't
right.
do that. You have to teach from where the students are. So I see, and you can't do student development from 500 miles away. You've got to be there for the students. And so those are areas that are really unlikely to have mass, there'll be standardization to the extent that it makes sense. But what there won't be is consolidations because we have to reach the students. If we didn't believe that reaching the student face-to-face remains an important way to do higher ed, we wouldn't be opening new locations. I mean, we'd just go all online if we thought that face-to-face doesn't matter. And we're spending tens of millions of dollars to do this sort of stuff. And likewise, you know, the magic of education happens when a student and a faculty member click. That's where the magic happens. We would be stupid to jeopardize that. And I hope I'm not stupid. I know he's not.
You're right on target.
But that's the magic we're going to work to protect right there.